Coming up on the Mobile Content Creators Show.
It's nice if journalists search for these stories and bring them on TV or on internet. But I also believe that Mojo can help communities to tell their own stories.
Welcome to the Mobile Content Creators Show. If you're a mobile journalist, marketer or creative who makes content on a mobile device or for mobile audiences, you're in the right place. Keeping you up to date with the fast-moving world of mobile, here's your host and mobile video specialist, Mark Egan.
Well, I'm joined today by Geertje Algera, who's from Utrecht in the Netherlands. And Geertje, for the last 2 years, has been a mojo at KRO-NCRV in the Netherlands, one of the broadcasters there. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, we go back a few years now because we met when you came on one of the courses at the Eurovision Academy in Geneva. But I don't claim credit for anything you've done after that because you've really taken this and really made it your own. So for people who don't know you, what kind of topics did you cover? What was your beat as a mojo for KRO-NCRV?
Well, I've always been interested in people from other religions. I've always been interested in people with not a background than pure a Dutch nationality. We're also, as many countries, a country of immigrants. Recently, of course, a lot of people from Syria came over to the Netherlands. But, for the past, 50 or even 100 years, there's always been people with different backgrounds and different religions coming to the Netherlands. So I've always been very interested in them.
And I remember, sometimes when you do courses, you have to go through this long thing of trying to persuade people that I know it's a phone, but you can make good stuff with this. But with you, you just seem to get it straight away. What was it that first attracted you to mobile journalism?
Well, I was a camjo, a camera journalist for a couple of years, maybe something like 5 years. And I always, honestly, I'm not so technical. I'm not, very technical girl, I guess. Some people think now I am, because I'm a mojo, but I'm not. And what I really liked is that I just was very lightweight and I could just travel and also the quality was so good. Once you press the right buttons, the quality is great. And I just like the simplicity of it. When I was a camera journalist, the camera was still pretty big. And I was always, thinking like, do I have the audio? Do I have the, the white balance and all the complicated stuff? And I'm really a kind of like on the go, push the record button and, that's it. That's it. I want to keep it as simple as possible and as lightweight as possible. And for me, mojo is that, quick, lightweight, and also non-intrusive, non-intimidating to people. Because when I interview people, I really immediately I notice the difference. When I come with my big camera, people are often they think like, oh, it's so scary, and I felt the camera was a little bit between me and the person I was interviewing. And with my iPhone, I noticed that, it's very, people are not intimidated by it.
Yeah, well, I suppose people have been filmed every day on their smartphones, are they? So they're used to it. Whereas somebody turning up with a bigger camera and possibly lights and everything is it's something that you don't go through every day. In fact, you mentioned about the sort of camera mojo or the camera journalist setup, and I came from a similar background. And the other day I was helping a friend shooting on a documentary, and was using the kind of typical video journalist cameras. And hadn't done that for a little while, and weirdly enough it felt absolutely huge, and there was just so much kit and so much in the backpack and everything like that. It really felt strange, which shocked me actually, but I totally know what you mean. So can you remember the first time that you picked up the phone, you went out to do some stories? What were the kind of stories you picked up first, and what was your first experience of actually shooting something on the phone instead of your bigger camera?
Well, I remember it really well. It was in my town where I live in Utrecht, and I wanted to do some street interviews. And it was the time of the Ramadan, so it was the Ramadan of 2014. And of course, I didn't want all you know, how do I say that? You have to edit this out. Of course, I didn't want all Dutch, 100% Dutch people to talk about the Ramadan. I wanted to have the Muslim community talk about the Ramadan. And in Utrecht, there's a lot of Muslims here. So I went to the area of the central station, and I went with my iPhone and a tripod and a lavalier microphone, and I just went ahead and approached more the multicultural people. Of course, they're not all Muslims, but I have to make some kind of educated guess. And I asked them, can I interview you for internet? And I immediately noticed that it was very easy. And also, I could tell people like, we can do a small interview, and we can look it back. We can look at the images on my iPhone, and you can listen to yourself. And if you're not happy, I will delete it. Right with you while you're here. And so people were very like, okay, yeah, I trust you, and we can do that. And I think nobody refused to do the short interview about the Ramadan. So I immediately noticed it was very quick and easygoing.
Yeah, and I suppose that's one of the things that we often talk about, the technology around mobile journalism and creating content with mobile, but it's the content that really matters to the audience. And it sounds like what you're saying is that there are potentially stories, communities out there that are just not being represented, and Mojo could be one of the solutions.
Yeah, that's to me a big thing about Mojo. I've always wanted to work inclusive. In my reports, I want a millionaire, with a really fancy job. But I also want the people that are from maybe the poorer communities, or, just people who had less opportunities maybe in their life. But I want to give them a voice. Even stay-at-home moms, or Moroccan Dutch students in the Netherlands. They're not often heard because they're not so much on TV. But I want to give them a voice. I want to work inclusive and have a broad range of everybody in society in my reports.
And one of the advantages is that people relax and everything, but sometimes it is just economics. I remember you can correct me on this, but there's one piece that you did. I think it was a radio program, a religious radio program, and I think they had like a competition or a thing where people had to vote for the most spiritual place in the Netherlands or something along those lines. Is that ringing any bells? And I remember I showed it in one of the following trainings, because it's always good to see how people are using it. And somebody said, well, you could have shot that with a camera crew. And it's like, well, yes, you could have done. And well, why weren't they shooting it with the camera crew? Now, I'm open to correction here, but I've worked in lots of radio stations as well. And each program, especially the religious ones, don't always have their own camera crews to hand. So again, that's the kind of thing which just you wouldn't have the resources to create a video like that, would you?
No, I mean, I know from my own company, 90% of the budget goes to TV and only 10% to the radio. So radio people don't have a camera crew that they can call. It's just not in their budget. But if you can do it with your mobile phone, it's easy. You don't have to hire a camera crew.
And you said that you were happy to get away from the big kind of cameras that you were using before. So when you turned up, you had your first experience of shooting, and obviously you wanted to get decent sound. What kit did you decide to bring in the end? Because you obviously have your Mojo kit. So what did you decide was the balance between, I want to be lightweight and not carry loads of stuff, but I do need a few things?
Well, the minimum thing that I go out with, or how do you say, the minimum equipment I take with me is a Rode SmartLav Plus lavalier microphone, Rode SmartLav Plus lavalier microphone, and I have two tripods, a smaller one and a larger one, and I guess that's about it. Yeah. I have more stuff, but this is like the minimum for me.
And when you go and do your pieces, do you tend to come back and then edit them on a computer? Do you ever edit in the field? What sort of what's your editing workflow?
Yeah, I prefer to edit roughly on my phone because there's always a lot of stuff you shoot where you think like, this is really not working. So usually from a clip, for example, I have a 2-minute clip. I edit already the part that I want to use. Maybe it's 30 seconds or 40 seconds out of that 2 minutes. And then I start editing with that, either on a desktop computer or on my phone. I've been doing more and more editing on my phone, actually. So, but in the beginning, it didn't fit into the workflow of my company because my boss was like really uncomfortable to screen or to watch the reports on my phone, to judge them on my phone if they were good or not. He wanted them on a desktop computer. So usually I transferred my shots to a desktop computer and I edited them in Final Cut Pro. But I'm not working for that program anymore. So I'm making more and more of my own reports for internet. And I prefer to edit on my phone actually now because it's just very easy and I think the result is really good.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, there's a guy in America who's making an entire movie shooting and editing on his phone, and I'm hoping to get him on shortly to explain how he's doing that. But the editing on the phone is getting better and better and better, and I do think I just love that workflow of you shoot it, you cut it, and you share it without having to change device. And when it comes to your shooting style, I remember there was a discussion in the MojoCon group. So if you're interested in these topics and you haven't already signed up, it's #MojoCon, and you just click to apply, and one of us administrators will approve you, as long as you're not really shifty looking. And there was a discussion that you put together a piece, and people were saying about the looking room. So what by that we mean, conventionally, when you interview somebody, they look off camera, they look to the side as if they're talking to a reporter, and if they're looking down the barrel of the lens, it means they're a presenter, a reporter. And people were saying, well, you've made mistakes on that piece because the looking is wrong, and they're looking in at the phone. Now, I think this is a really interesting thing because conventionally, if you speak to people and you film them on a phone, naturally they're more likely to look at the phone. And I always train people both ways. So if you make the decision to do it that way, you can do it that way. But do you actively sometimes make a decision that actually I'm not going to make this look like a traditional news piece from 1995? I'm shooting on a phone. It's got its own style, its own grammar. I'm going to do it differently.
Well, I had it one time with a Moroccan Dutch blogger. I interviewed her it's a very young woman, early 20s, and I interviewed her in her bedroom. Well, first of all, her bedroom was very, very tiny. And I also thought, this woman is a blogger. I can frame her, literally the frame that I'm using, in a more maybe how do you call him, vlogger. She was a blogger, so she was a writer, but I framed her more in a kind of vlogger kind of way. So just in the middle of the shot and just looking straight at me. And I think actually it worked very well. It was very modern, and I think the young people who watch the report, they don't really care about newsroom.
Now, like you say, the grammar of vlogging and all that kind of stuff is different. Do you find that you're potentially reaching a different audience? Because it's great doing all this stuff, but are you reaching audiences, communities, age groups that perhaps you weren't reaching when you were a traditional camera journalist?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I found that the reports reach younger audiences and just much more diverse. And not all even, for example, I make a lot of reports about Moroccan Dutch people. So of course, they have most of them have a Muslim background, so I reach them. But for example, also Christian people, or even people, for example, I did stories about gay Christian people, and they're not often on mainstream media, so they really rely on the internet of their views to be heard. So I did stories about them, and I know that traditional media doesn't like the TV. You know, in the Netherlands we have NPO 1, 2, and 3. That's the 3 channels, and I know they don't reach the young people. I mean, not they reach them, but not enough. And on internet, it's and with Mojo, with the use of Mojo, I can reach them.
You've moved on to Snapchat now, and you know, playing around on Snapchat and seem to be enjoying it. What's your thoughts on Snapchat? Do you think that's something that could be useful in covering stories in those kind of communities you were talking about?
Yeah, I really like Snapchat because it's so. You get this feeling that you're alive telling a story, and I really like that. Of course, Instagram has now, copied this idea, but on Snapchat, you can just, if I have like a really busy day, I can take my audience through the day, you know, from minute to minute, from hour to hour, what I'm doing, what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, and I really like that kind of. It's more like linear storytelling, because if I make a report, often, you know, my first shot in the report is often maybe one of the last shots I've taken. But Snapchat is very linear, but it also gives it a very authentic feel, I guess. You're right there with the reporter, and just in a linear way experiencing everything he or she is experiencing, and I really like that.
So obviously you're passionate about telling the stories, and we're talking about Snapchat, different platforms and all that kind of stuff. Is there one story that you've told using your phone that you're really proud of, that you think, yep, this really sums up what mobile journalism is all about?
Well, maybe, I don't know, it's hard to just say one. There was a story about two small kids I did in a school in Amsterdam, and it was really fun to work with these kids. I noticed also that, you know, through my phone it was very easy to communicate with them. They felt really relaxed. It was a story about IMC Weekend School, a school for kids that come from more or less bad neighborhoods, or, you know, more difficult background at home. And I could really sense the fun they had to follow this weekend school. And also, as I mentioned, the Moroccan Dutch blogger. I think the report turned out very nice, especially when she told me about her faith. And I really remember one quote she had, where she said God and Allah in the same sentence. And I thought it was so, you know, how do you say, profound to hear a Moroccan Dutch people say God and Allah in the same sentence. To me, it was really lovely. And then she said, you know, God and Allah are love. And I thought, you know, this is really nice that he says it in this kind of way. And I also did a report about how Christian gay people sometimes suffer from depression, because they feel so torn between their sexuality and their religion, because, you know, some people believe that, you know, if you're a Christian you cannot be gay, and this is, you know, some kind of struggle, and some people have even suicidal thoughts about this. And the story I made about it, I thought it was really important. It was watched maybe by 40, 50,000 people, but it carried an important message, you know, that if you struggle with your sexuality and your religion, you know, you need to look for help, and you need to talk about it, and you know, connect with other people who maybe also struggle with it, or maybe a therapist or something like that. But to at least not feel alone. Not that many Christian people who are gay, they feel like they're alone. But you know, as the views of this story, you know, tells you, if 40 or 50,000 people watch this story, I think you can figure out there's many more people who struggle with this. How do you say? There's many more people who struggle with this dilemma, or these feelings.
Yeah, I can hear in your voice the passion when you're telling me about these stories. And, you know, you go into newsrooms and they talk about, you know, we need to reflect like more diverse societies or communities or religions, whatever it is. From your experience then, what's your advice? You know, should they be doing more Mojo, or what is the approach to make sure that, you know, that more of the stuff you're doing gets out there?
Well, I also want to make one point that I really like working with a camera crew also. I think for some stories it's perfect to work with a camera crew. But, then there's not always a budget to make them all with a camera crew. And even sometimes it works better to make them Mojo, because it gives you a more intimate connection with the person you're interviewing with, because it's just one-to-one. And I found that people open up easier to me if it's just me versus me with a camera crew with me. But sorry, what was your question?
I was asking about like reflecting more of these communities. What should people be doing to get these stories told? Should it be up to the actual communities themselves to be making more of their own content even?
Yeah, I really believe in that. I believe that Mojo can help people to tell their own story. And of course, it's nice if journalists search for these stories and bring them on TV or on internet. But I also believe that Mojo can help communities to tell their own stories. Younger people, older people, diverse people. Yeah, I think that this is a great opportunity and great perspective for Mojo.
And where do you see this all going in the future? Now you're setting up by yourself now. You're setting up your own company, and will be going around and sharing your skills around the Netherlands and wider. Where presumably you think this isn't some kind of fad. Where do you see all this going in the next few years?
Well, yeah, I'm starting my company, Geertje Algera Media. And doing Mojo reports and also training people, because I noticed there's a huge demand for Mojo, for example, in city councils, for example, in cities. Also in the Netherlands, we have a lot of patient organizations, I guess you would call them. So people who have a certain disability or a certain disease. They want to tell their stories, how it is to live with this disease and how to deal with it. But also, just about every community. I would love to help all kind of communities to tell their own stories and to learn these Mojo skills, because I think we are living in a different time now. It used to be, if you wanted to, if you have your organization and you want to be on TV, you need to persuade a journalist, we are really important. Please come and make a report about us. But nowadays, everybody has Facebook, everybody has different social media, YouTube channel, and everybody can make their own stories. And I think then maybe conventional media will see that, how many views you get. And they will maybe come to make a story for TV. But I think actually in the Netherlands, I think TV is getting more and more. I'm not saying it will disappear, not at all, but it's equal. I would say equal to internet, equally important.
Well, I'm sure you'll be a great success. And the thing I commend you about is you've taken this and you've sort of thought, there are things that aren't being covered and in ways that aren't being covered. And rather than just try and plug it in and try and do what we did before, just with a different tool, trying to reach out and tell more stories and speak to more people, be more representative. And I think that's a really great part of what mobile journalism can be. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope we cross paths again soon.
Yeah, me too. And thank you for getting it all started in 2014 in Geneva, in Switzerland.
I remember it well, but hey, like I said before, you did the rest. So well done.
Well, thank you, Mark.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe. And we'd love it if you would leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. To get in touch with Mark, go to www.purplebridgemedia.com or tweet him at Mark Egan Video.